This early morning, let's explore how to escape the trap of guru devotion. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything is crap, including meditation teachers, which means 90% of the meditation teachers out there are going to sincerely feel that being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, competitive, cryptic, and cruel is great, and you should be that way. And they're going to be hypercritical if you choose to be or aspire to be flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Now, if you want to be a rigid, controlling elitist, then by all means hang out with an authoritarian teacher. Bow to him or her, make offerings to him or her, don't think for yourself, and do what they say. But if you want something more, then find teachers who choose to be and aim to be and encourage others to be loving, laid back, egalitarian. They're flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. And they will be happy to answer your questions and give you instructions, but in a very gentle way. Remember, if the Buddha existed and he may just be an archetype, and if the writings attributed to him were actually from what he said, and those are a lot of ifs, then an argument can be made that the Buddha was egalitarian. He taught it wasn't for only one caste of people, it wasn't for just one gender, it wasn't for just one race. He taught the opposite of linguistical elitism. It was said that Brahmins came to him and asked to translate his teachings into Sanskrit, and he explained it's better to translate his teachings into every common dialect. If an Indian racist says that if you practice Buddhism, that's cultural appropriation, they're incorrect. Buddhists, monks, acted as missionaries when people were exiled to India during one of the many colonial periods, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So when peoples of a culture initiate and share the culture with outsiders, it's not appropriation at all. The Buddha never taught that any type of elitism. In fact, he taught that full enlightenment does not take couples of times. He taught that it could be accomplished in as little as 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. The Buddha was egalitarian. He didn't say you needed a personal teacher, you needed to bow to the Buddha. He just said, learning instructions, practice the instructions. He was very pragmatic. There's a saying popularized by our friends in the 12-step program. It works if you work it, so work it. The Buddha's techniques work. If you hang out with me, save my videos, watch them as many times as you want, or jot them down, or download them. They're all free. Everything I do is free. And practice them. When you have questions, type me. The best way to reach me for a question is by using either the links in the area below the video through my Facebook group, or just type a question during a live stream, and that pertains to meditation, philosophy, and application, and I'll be happy to help you out. So what I'd like to do next is for us to do our formal practice. However, before we do that, we need to break for about 80 or 90 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible by the generosity of viewers just like you who support this channel on Patreon, either by using their smartphone camera to capture the QR code on the screen or by scrolling down and clicking the Patreon link in the description area below the video. If you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Luke Skywalker on Dagobah under the guidance of Yoda, then by all means subscribe and ring that notification bell. Good news. If at any point during this live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. And now, it's time for our formal practice. When we watch videos of track meets, every sprint begins with a starter's gun and ends with someone throwing themselves over the finish line. I found the same works well for group meditations, to end with a short chant of empathy and wisdom, and to begin with a short chant also of empathy and wisdom. So that's what I'd like to do right now. Of course, it'd be very useful if I click the right button in the right sequence. So please join me for a very short chant that's designed to exercise our neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. So I think it would be very fun to begin with Love's Right Aspirations, which is a blend of the second fold of the Eightfold Path with Mindfulness and Meditation's seventh and eighth folds, where we bring the four bases of mindfulness, Satipatthana, into the path of loving kindness, or metta. There's this weird myth that if you can say something in Pali or Sanskrit, you must know your shit. Or at least you're asked from a hole in the ground. Otherwise, that could create some hygienic problems. So it's very simple. As we breathe in, we're going to recite the noun luck, which is a monosyllabic synonym of good fortune. And it is a great big umbrella term for everything that is circumstantially useful. For instance, I wish that the folks in Gaza had safety from the foreign invaders. I'm a Jew. I got a big nose. I had a bar mitzvah and a bris. And as someone who spent some time studying the Torah, I can tell you our people lost the right to Israel a very long time ago. And if they want a homeland, in the words of Jon Stewart, they should consider the Catskills. Leave the Palestinians alone. Please, 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 please. So I wish good fortune and safety for the Palestinians, for the folks in the Ukraine. I'm not sure how to say that. Is it Ukrainians? For the folks in Africa, for the folks all over the world who are experiencing every time of circumstantial suffering, whether it's coarse or whether it's very subtle. Let's wish all beings everywhere good fortune. We wish love, and the object of our love is all beings everywhere, all beings of all worlds, real or imagined. And we don't need to emote, we don't need to visualize, we don't need to believe. If all we do is silently and mentally recite these two words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation, we will make progress on the path. Let's jump right in. Our minds are going to wander. That's fine. Don't be the mind police. Let your mind do what it was wired to do. Our minds are wired to notice things as we breathe in. Due to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We're wired to notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. That is not a moral failing to notice these things. But of course, the question does rise, or arise. What are we to do with that which we notice? And the answer is meditate. But how do we do that? Simple. Every time we exhale, due to our parasympathetic nervous system, we are wired to mentally release as we physically relax. We don't have to force this relaxation. It's already wired into our spinal cord. All we got to do is silently and mentally recite these two words in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation. Things will come up, things will fade away. We don't need to force it. We don't need to prevent it. While marinating in universal love, we can embrace this attitude. Whatever comes, I'll let it come. Whatever stays, I'll let it stay. Whatever goes, I'll let it go. Enjoy the ride. As someone who chooses to traverse the path of wisdom and love, I don't agree with all the politicians of the world at all times. Just because I disagree with them does not mean I want a 25,000-pound weight to fall on their head, like on that reoccurring skit on the Monty Python's Flying Circus. I disagree with them. And so as different people come to mind while practicing this, I don't have to throw hate at them. I can throw love at them. Even if I feel they are a danger to themselves and others, I can still throw love at them. Because the next subject after luck and health is going to be love and wisdom. And if all the people in power of all the countries of the world were marinated in true wisdom and true love, everything would work out just fine. One of the keys to peace and happiness is not just wishing some people good fortune, but all beings, even those who sometimes feel like they are our enemies. Even folks who feel that if they got their way, it would be the end of life on earth as we know it. When I was really into Christianity many years ago, I suggested and was got in trouble for saying, hey, why don't we pray for Satan's repentance? So there are no enemies. There's people who are current friends and potential friends. And if you have a memory or if you have a fantasy that triggers your PTSD or CPTSD or your Avenger tendencies, and you're filled with bloodthirsty rage that would make a Klingon blush, that's okay. Because emotion is not volition. You can feel what you feel and still choose a loving intention. That does not make you a hypocrite. Remember, right now we're exercising intention, not emotion. we switch gears, and I guess it would be very helpful if I did a quick edit, so I'll try to do that right now. Let's see if I can't do the old cut and paste, and okay. We turn our attention now to the physical love that wishes profound health, every type of physical health for every being everywhere. This doesn't mean it's magic, doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means that we are exercising our empathy. We're exercising the neural pathways responsible for empathy. Now, there are some people who do all kinds of really fun intellectual gymnastics between trying to bridge the gap between particle physics and metaphysics. And hey, I would not mind at all if this completely transformed all beings everywhere. But that's not my thing. My thing is to simply exercise my neural pathways. Of course, it's been my experience that the more I do this, the better the health of those who are at least in my sphere of influence. So let's play with this right now. As we breathe in, let's silently and mentally recite health. And as we exhale, let us wish that that health be lavished on all beings everywhere. And remember, we are exercising our volition, our will, not our emotion. When we're trying to change our emotion, that does not end well. We accept our emotion. We notice our emotion as we breathe in. We relax into our emotion as we breathe out, all while reciting words that are kind of like push-ups for our empathy. We turn our attention now to interpersonal love, and that refers to any way that entities relate to each other, whether it's vocationally or recreationally, secularly or religiously, whether it is platonically or intimately, even if it's hostilely or politically, or commercially, however interbeings interface, may they do it with love. And love simply means not necessarily an emotion, but the intention that all beings everywhere benefit. Circumstantially, physically, interpersonally, and mentally. Just, we wish beings well. When all beings are transformed into loving entities, exploitation will be impossible. Violence will be impossible. Cruelty will be impossible. This is already part of our evolutionary makeup. We have a mechanism just a little bit forward and above the center of our brain. It's called the anterior cingulate gyrus. We're already wired for empathy. We already possess mirror neurons. We're just awakening our potential, which has grown dormant. we can put away the childish cruelty of making ourselves feel good by making others feel bad. The great irony is, while we are wishing love, things might come up. Sight, sound, sensation, flavors, sense, and the like might come up. Emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings might come up. We might feel emotions that are not warm and fuzzy. That's okay, because if we persist in our awareness, we'll notice that as we relax into our exhalation, they begin to feel intangible, which means it's incredibly easier to no longer live in habitual resistance. We can live in acceptance of whatever comes up, externally or internally, for it's all quite fleeting. Remember, noticing a painful emotion does not make us a hypocrite. Ignoring a painful emotion does. So we notice what we notice as we breathe in, relax into its non-graspability as we breathe out. All the while silently and mentally reciting, all love. Remember, this is not an affirmation. We're just using words to guide our intention. And you might ask, and rightfully so, why not use affirmations? Why not use belief? Because the path that the Buddha taught in the Four Noble Truths is a path of letting go. And belief is the opposite of letting go. It's a rigidity of intellect and emotion. So the great irony is that by letting go, it's even more effective. It's 10 times as effective as affirmations wish they could be. So we come now to mental love, wishing all beings everywhere wisdom. Cleverness could be the partnership of the prefrontal cortex and the underbrain, the amygdala, and the like. Wisdom is different. It's the partnership of the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate gyrus. So it's different. It's more sustainable, it's more flexible, it's more kind. Now we really shift gears. We shift gears from love to letting go's right view, which is based on the first fold of the Eightfold Path. As well as the seventh and eighth folds of mindfulness and meditation, like that explore empathy and the three marks of reality. Let's make sure that everything's still copacetic. Excellent. Okay, we're going to explore stress. And it's simply this question, where is stress? And this really feeds our empathy, exercising the vulnerability to notice, to take off our metaphoric blinders and notice our stress and other people's stress. So on the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite where. During the exhalation, we silently and mentally recite stress. So stress is not something that's made up. It's wired into us. The ability to recognize circumstantial stressors, physical stressors, interpersonal stressors, and mental stressors is not neurotic. It is part of our survival mechanism. The ancestors who could not recognize stressors and react accordingly did not live long enough to pass on their genetic traits. So let's exercise the courage to play with this right now for approximately one set of 17 rounds. So now we are simply exercising our intention that all beings experience of stress now be soothed. Once again, this is not a question of emotion, it's a question of intention. We don't have to visualize, we don't have to believe. If all we do is silently and mentally recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation, we will make progress on the path. We now explore impermanence, or anicca. This is not a question of faith. It's a question of experimentation. So the inhalation infers a question. This thing that I'm experiencing, whatever it is, external or internal, real or imagined, whatever it is that I'm experiencing in this moment, or perceiving in this moment, will it last? And the answer is not. Now you might say, that sounds like belief. No, because every time we exhale, we relax. Every time we inhale, so it's like our mind picks something up as we inhale, and it sets it down as we relax. And without using our prefrontal cortex, without using intention, we can simply allow our natural processes of both our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to help us to be much more free and relaxed and groovy. Let's try this as an experiment right now. We come to the fourth contemplation, the fourth and final contemplation of our set of 4 contemplations. Now, this is a much misunderstood exercise. Our job is not to believe or disbelieve in the existence of a self, whatever that may be. It's simple. We have a tendency to grab onto whatever we perceive, whether we perceive a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent, or the like, or whether we perceive one of mind's emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. So using the mechanism of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, we're going to ask, hey, this thing I'm experiencing right now, is it me? It doesn't feel that way. It might feel that way when we breathe in. It'll feel less that way as we breathe out. Now, there's some people, some very, very cranky people, some are cruel, some are just lazy-minded, who will say the only reason we experience pain is because we have yet to realize not self. And the answer is, no, that's not how it works. The first enlightenment factor is mindfulness. We are wired to perceive things. If we repress our perception, we have lost the path. So everybody who is alive is subject to perceptions of the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. If someone tells you otherwise, thank them for their time and leave. Run away, because they're not going to help you. So there's some people who are just cruel and abusive, and they gaslight, and they'll be mean, and they might slap you in the face, and then say, see, you still have a sense of self. That wouldn't have hurt you. Malarkey. Those guys, at best, are stupid, and at worst, are malignant and narcissistic. Those people can harm you. Be aware of that. All we're saying is this. When we breathe in, if we're honest with ourselves, is a rational, petulant part of us which says mine or me. It's built into all of us. That's why cats rub up against things. Haha, that's nice. Hey, Steve, that's a nice car. I can rub up against it now. It's mine. No, it doesn't work that way. But that's part of our ancient wiring. Everything is me. Everything is mine. And we're not using belief, but we're using the play of our parasympathetic nervous system to help us get better and better at letting go. If even for a microsecond, that's all we're doing. And now we just repeat the cycle. Well, that's weird. That is odd, isn't it? Well, such is life. All right, let's hit copy. Well, that's weird. Let us seal our practice by chanting the four immeasurables. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness, may everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window, you could give this live stream a thumbs up, you could share it with a friend, you could even help support this channel on Patreon, either by capturing the QR code on the screen with your smartphone's camera, or by simply scrolling down to the Patreon link in the description area below the video. In approximately 2¼ hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's mid-morning lesson and meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy, and if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.